All right, here we are. This is episode 47, and today we're talking about
47.
Sentimental Value, which is one of the Oscar nominees, which we'll talk about here in a second.
Yeah,
Got some
yeah.
movie news, and then I'll hit on. I saw 28 Years Later, Bone Temple, so I'll touch on that, and then anything else Carlos has seen,
Oh,
which he
okay.
hasn't told me yet, so I don't know what he's going to talk about,
hmm
but we'll figure that out.
hmm
And then we'll kind of break down
Yeah,
a spoiler-filled discussion of Sentimental Value, so should be a fun one. But I guess we can
yeah,
start by
yeah.
saying rest in peace to Catherine O'Hara. That was one just notable
That's
celebrity
right.
death from this week that was worth
Yeah, everybody
mentioning.
was affected by that.
What's your favorite Catherine O'Hara film?
It was a big loss. Oh, it's funny because I was talking about it at work, and of course, everyone's talking about Home Alone, but someone said
Yeah.
Beetlejuice, and I
Oh
do
yeah.
think she was great in Beetlejuice, but I also like her in the Christopher Guest films like Best in Show,
Mhm.
and you know, um, oh my God, The Mighty Wind. That
Yep.
was a great one too. So
I haven't seen. I
tell me
don't know if I
what's
have a
yours?
favorite off the top of my head here. She's just great. She's so good in everything, and I think she
Yes,
has a
yes.
million credits, obviously. So it's hard to kind
Oh
of
yeah,
narrow it
yeah.
down. I asked the question, but I didn't really have a good answer for it. But I just wanted to take a second and kind of
I know,
mention
right?
her
I thought
incredible
I thought you
career.
had something there, girl.
But it's sad to hear. And but she also had a
Yeah,
great career
yeah,
and a great life. So you know, it's not like a
yeah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman or in terms of just like she lived she lived. So I hope I could live to be 71.
Yeah,
That's
of
just
course.
remarkable. So and then she had a great career. But anyway, yeah. So
Yeah,
just wanted to kind of briefly touch on that, and
yeah.
then the only other thing that I was curious about I know you're not a big Alamo Drafthouse. You don't go to Alamo Drafthouse that often, do you?
I haven't been there in 2 years because Rhonda doesn't like driving the hour out there. But I
It's
have,
far.
during that whole 1982 retrospective back in 2002, I think I saw like almost every film during that thing. But why? What is there anything new? Like,
Well, they've
what's
been
the
getting
way?
some criticism for moving away from menus and I assume servers to moving to mobile ordering. This is after the Sony acquisition, which happened a year or two ago. It's actually been a while since I think they got acquired
Yeah,
by
yeah.
Sony, but
A while
um,
now. Yeah.
yeah, I think they're moving to mobile ordering, which is getting they're just getting a ton of shit for. And I was curious what your thoughts were because I think ultimately, I'm a huge Draft House
So
fan. Like you,
I
I
am
don't want to
too.
drive an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know
Sure
why.
is.
I have stuff
I mean,
open here.
they talked about opening up one here, but right by the mall, and I remember the sign on the in the ground, and then that was like 2 3 years ago, and nothing ever came of it. So I guess they backed out. But so you're saying that now there are no more servers. You go there, you order on your phone, and they bring it to
I
you.
don't know how the
Is that
server
what you mean?
system
Like,
works. You probably still have some kind of
okay,
server, I would assume, but like it's
yeah,
just like
that's what I was gonna
it
say.
goes
Yeah,
completely against the whole idea of like not allowing phones in the theater, which is like the thing that they kind of founded their brand on. So I just find it odd that you'd move
yeah.
to mobile
hmm
order. It's one thing if it was like a tablet or something that was on the that'll never happen. And so people are going to pull out their phones and order food in the middle
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
movie, which seems terrible. Uh,
In the middle of a movie, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, and
so
then I agree. That's stupid. Because I hate when people are on their phones during a movie. Drives
sure.
me insane. So, that would be crazy. Yeah.
For a place
And
that
then
was
what's
kind
to
of
stop them from after they order, they start looking at their phone. They get distracted.
sure.
They start looking at the phone and they forget it's not just about ordering. So yeah, I don't
And
know.
then they can say like,
I
"Oh
don't
no, I
agree with
wasn't
that.
texting. I was ordering from the menu." It's like,
I was
I
ordering
mean, I think this is not as big of an
cheeseburger.
issue as people are making it out to be. But it's like people are
Yeah,
like losing
yeah.
their minds. I'm like, it's gonna be fine. But it's just an interesting idea. It's like I don't understand why you why would you move to that system other than just not wanting to interrupt
Yeah, I
to
understand
check
it.
on people. But it's like I don't know. Anyway, it just seems really counterintuitive to the whole concept, and it's one of the first major changes to their systems that they've introduced
Yeah,
since
yeah, since they
this Sony
started, yeah.
acquisition. So.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll
interesting.
see. Hopefully it's not all downhill from here, but
I know, right? Imagine. Oh, maybe
maybe
they'll move over here now.
yeah. But anyway, that was just a brief little thing I wanted to
No,
talk
no,
about.
yeah,
But
yeah.
and then we can get into the Oscar nominations, which we were going to record last week, and then I had internet trouble.
I
I
was
think
going to
you
ask you,
hadn't
yeah.
seen the film by Tuesday, I think, so we had to push it to Thursday.
Correct. So we were going to move to Thursday. Yeah.
And then I had internet problems, and so we were just, the it was just technical difficulties, and by the time, we
What was
got to
wrong
try and
with your internet? What happened?
I think they just had to do emergency maintenance. It might have been because of the
Oh,
freeze. I'm not 100%
yeah,
sure,
yeah, yeah.
but it's just w one of those things, and
Yeah, I got you.
especially when having a provider like Centric, who they're like not even a real.
I was
They're
going to
mostly
say,
fine in terms of speeds, but they're like barely a real provider in terms of everything else. And like you
everything
can't
else,
call
yeah.
and get anyone on the phone ever. Like you have to leave a voicemail. And
Oh, that's
anyway,
horrible. Sorry
terrible
about that.
company.
And but you said that you're getting Xfinity. Oh, when you move, you're going to
When
get
we
Xfinity.
move, yeah. So, and that's the other
Yeah,
part of it is like I can't run my Plex server the right way because of the way that this
yeah, yeah,
provider, it's called a Signat, which essentially means your IP address is constantly changing. It's just a cheaper way to provide internet, and so,
yeah, yeah,
but once we get a house, hopefully in June, I'll have a real internet provider. We won't have that problem,
yeah.
hopefully ever again, and it'll help with the server speeds and stuff, which I'm excited
Yeah,
about.
of course. Yeah, yeah,
Just the remote quality for Plex will be a lot better. But
yeah,
anyway, Oscar nominations came out. We were going to talk about them last week. We're going to talk about them this week instead. So, I mean, people, this is always, we've
yeah.
talked about the Oscars,
Yes,
every year for a decade now. And there's always a debate over whether or not they got it
I know,
right.
right?
And I mean, I think
Yeah,
looking at the categories this year, I mean, there's a few just odd choices. Like F1 to
agreed.
me doesn't
Right?
make a lot of sense. I mean,
I
who
don't,
cares about that movie
that's
anyway?
what I'm saying. I don't
Um,
get that.
I mean, okay, let's start by saying, like, I mean, the Oscars, do they really matter? Probably not. But I think
No, yeah, we've had this
financially,
conversation a couple
yeah, I
times.
think financially for a lot of the films that get nominated, though, there is a significant financial difference between a film that gets nominated and a film that doesn't.
Does
Un
not. Correct.
Unless it's just like a movie that everybody's talking about because it didn't get nominated. But I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know. I
agreed.
mean, that's rarely they get a theatrical rerun, so they make more money, they get more
Yeah.
eyes on the thing. I mean, I think especially for like the indie or the foreign market stuff. I mean, I think the Oscars are
Yes.
definitely
Yeah.
critical, and I think honestly for me, and we can talk about like what your big like if you have any snubs or anything. For me, I think it's no other choice not being in the foreign or best
Oh
picture
yeah.
category for me. I mean, I don't know
Or
that I need
best
it to
picture.
be in the
Yeah.
best picture, but it's crazy to me that that wouldn't be in the best foreign film category because I think it's better than at least two of the other options in that category. That's just
I
baffling to me
agree.
because that
Like, I
film's
mean, I know
great.
you said you dug on Frankenstein.
That's another one that I think is a little.
Yeah, I'm
I
looking at
like
like
it,
Frankenstein.
and I also
Yeah,
think
Train
Train
Dreams.
Dreams, just no one had
Yeah, I
seen.
know
I hear
you
it's
dug
good.
it. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet either. It's on Netflix though. I don't even
See,
know
yeah,
when it
me too. I had it,
is.
but I mean, and then
So
obviously, yeah,
the rest of the nominees, I think,
it's
it's
been on
F
Netflix
one.
since I think November, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
Yeah,
I hadn't even heard of it. And maybe I just am
horrible.
not of Train Dreams. Are you talking?
Really? It came out like it was a summer movie. No,
Wait,
no,
you're
no. I'm
talking
talking
about?
about F1. Oh, you're talking
Oh,
about
F
Train Dreams.
one.
You
Yeah,
said you
F
never
one.
heard of.
I couldn't care less about F1. I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
it looks like it was well made. I'm sure it's kind of like the what was the other car one that got nominated 2 years ago? It's just like all the old Academy
The
members are
Ferrari
for
one, the
yeah
one
yeah
with
Ford
yeah,
Ford versus
Ford to
Ferrari.
Ferrari. I was like,
Like you
what?
always have these like just random where it's like the old white guys in the academy are like, oh man, I really like Brad Pitt driving
Yeah, exactly.
cars.
That's what I was gonna say, Brad Pitt.
But
Oh my
I
god,
mean, anyway, the
must
Oscar,
be him.
the Oscar voters have always been out of touch. I mean, I think they've gotten better in recent years. I mean,
Yeah,
when you have
agreed.
something like Anora win last year, a
Yes, that
small
was a good one.
independent
Yeah,
film that's
yeah.
definitely about, it's not controversial by any means, but definitely
No.
about a marginalized individual and definitely, just an
Yeah,
unordinary pick. And then
correct, correct.
Parasite winning, and I think
Yeah,
Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think is a
yeah.
shocking. Even though I think that film's extraordinary.
We loved it. Yeah, we loved that movie, and I was like glad it won. Yeah,
So I mean, I think in the past couple of years, I think they've at least gotten the
yeah,
categories for them. I mean, like I was looking at last year, and it's like, I mean, last year was so stacked. You had Anora, The
yeah.
Brutalist, which I think
Right.
is phenomenal. A
Yeah,
Complete Unknown was the one that was kind of like
Yeah, agreed.
Conclave, though, you had Dune Part Two, which I think is one of the best films of the decade. Amelia Perez was the controversial one last year, I think.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
I'm Still
but I
Here,
liked
Nickel
it. I
Boy.
liked it.
There were some
Yeah.
stinkers in this category that like we've already forgotten about. Wicked made $1 billion, so that makes
Oh my
sense. The
God.
Substance,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
great. So you had a good mix of stuff though, and even the year prior was really stacked. So I mean, they've every year I think you have what are we doing now? 8 picks. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. You have 10 picks in the category.
10, yeah.
And I feel like you always have two or three that probably shouldn't be there. And then there's
Agreed.
always a debate over what was left out and what should have been. And
Yeah,
ultimately, as long as the ones that should be there overall, like
of course.
the ones that even stand a chance at winning, I think are here.
Yes,
Like
yeah,
even No Other Choice. I love that film. It was fourth on my list or something. I forget where I put it.
yeah.
Like, but that's not a movie that's probably going to win Best Picture, especially in the being in a
No,
foreign market. I mean, even Sentimental Value. We'll talk more about that later, but I mean,
yeah,
ultimately, that's a movie that like hasn't gotten enough eyes on it to probably win Best Picture, but you never
agreed.
know.
Yeah,
I mean, I think right now the favorites are definitely One Battle After Another,
another
Sinners, and
Hamnet.
maybe Hamnet. I mean, Hamnet's gotten a lot of buzz in recent
Yeah,
weeks, or I think Marty Supreme is probably the favorite over those two, though. I also think it's the better of the two films,
okay.
but all four of those are like deserving to be in the category, could certainly win. I think Bugonia is great. That deserves to be in
I love it.
there.
Yeah,
I mean, and we'll talk about sentimental value and hold our opinions on that. But ultimately, though, that makes sense as far as just like that's definitely an Oscar type movie.
yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, there's a few random. One of the other things that's been discussed. This isn't like an original thought, but Jesse Plemons not being nominated, I think, is
Uh, yes, he was
like
amazing. Yeah,
and I think giving it to, and I think everybody in the category did a great job.
yeah.
You got actors, so I guess we're looking at actor in a leading role here. No, Jesse Plemons
Okay,
though, he's leading role.
supporting. Well, would you put him in?
I don't know. I mean, if we're going supporting role, I think it's crazy to nominate Delroy Lindo for Sinners as opposed to,
I'm gonna tell you
Miles
right now,
Caton, who I think
he's
is
gonna win. He's gonna win. I already see
that's
it.
goofy.
He's gonna win. Yeah,
He's good, but like he's in 10 scenes in the movie, which is fine. I mean, I think Benicio is the same thing. Like the guy's in
yeah,
like
yeah,
he's in
yeah,
20% of the movie. Same thing with
yeah,
Delroy Lindo, who's great in it, but like
yeah. He is
I mean, Stellan Skarsgård I think is the favorite here.
the favorite. Sean Penn, I was
I
hoping,
think
but
Sean
yeah,
Penn, but Sean Penn, that's a goofy character. I think Stellan is actually great in Sentimental
yeah.
Value. I think he's
Oh,
my
he is.
favorite,
Yeah.
and I think
Hmm.
probably the favorite to win that category. But to not nominate Jesse Plemons for Bugonia is crazy to
I
me
agree
because
with
he's
that.
so
Yeah.
great in that role.
I mean, you could have taken Jacob Elordi out and put Jesse Plemons in
Yeah, that's the other one that I
easily.
kind of think
Yeah.
is goofy. I mean, the physicality of the Frankenstein character
Yeah.
is important, but I don't know. I wasn't as big on Frankenstein though, and a lot of people were. I think production
Yeah.
wise, it's outstanding, and I think there's a lot of great like I think for cinematography. I don't know if it got nominated for cinematography, but it did. So that
Yeah. I
makes
was gonna say.
sense. I mean, I don't think it'll win. I think One Battle After
After
Another,
another is gonna win
Sinners,
that
or
one. Yeah.
Marty Supreme all. Although Train Dreams apparently looks great, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the favorites right now, though, are all in there for the most part. There's just a few like I think Miles Caton not being nominated. I don't know. I don't understand why you would nominate. What's his name? Who we were just talking about for
Jesse
Sinners.
Plemons.
Delroy
Oh,
Lindo
no,
in
Delroy
Sinners.
Lindo. Oh,
Like
okay.
I mean, he's good. He's really great in it. I think he's like a really fun character. But like,
Yeah.
what is he doing in the? I don't know. I think that's a really bizarre choice. But anyway, but the people that I think should win are in there. So it's kind of like
Yeah. Yeah. I
other
got
than
you.
Jesse Plemons. So those are really my only two big nitpicks, which I think are just kind of confusing, but they're not like it's not like Jake Gyllenhaal not getting nominated for Nightcrawler or like, you know, I mean
I
there's been
remember that.
so many or Green
Yeah.
Book winning best picture. I mean, we're not,
Oh my God.
this is not a
Horrible.
controversy.
Yeah, that was crazy. I think that was the craziest movie of the last 5 years that
That's probably
happened.
the worst choice
Yeah, I agree.
by far. And there were three other things in the category that year. I think Black
And deserved
Klansman
it. Yeah.
and
Yes.
I think The Favorite came out that year, I
Favorite was
believe.
there that year.
It's
Yeah.
baffling to me. Anyway, but yeah, so the Oscars are fucking stupid, as we all know, and I mean, it's we can sit here and bitch about them a lot, but I
But
think
I think
ultimately,
this year they did come close to nominating the best.
I
You know what I
agree.
mean?
Yeah,
And like you said, like out of the five, for them, like, well, depending on what I'm looking at actor,
Sure.
and I'm saying for them, I think
Yeah.
definitely are
And I
deserving.
haven't seen Blue Moon. I have it on Plex, but Ethan
Yeah,
Hawke looks really good in that.
yeah, he
And I
looks
mean,
great in that. Yeah,
I mean, that makes sense at least. The Secret Agent apparently is great, so
yeah. So I see that.
that's not
Yeah,
surprising to me, but I still haven't seen it. Um, I mean, you could probably go through and nitpick some of the adapted screenplays, or I mean, but
let
ultimately,
me
I
see.
think
I didn't
the
even look at that
essentials
one.
are all there.
Yeah.
I actually think it was just an accident being there for writing is strange. I don't think that movie is great. I think it's
Oh, for
good.
writing. Oh,
And that's
yeah.
actually the
Okay.
one that I would swap for No Other Choice from the
Okay.
foreign. I haven't seen all the foreign nominees, but it was just I finished it. It was just an accident. Brief
Yeah.
little
Oh, okay.
review. I hadn't finished the best part of the film, and I like the way it ends a lot. But
Okay.
I just didn't connect with the material as far as just emotionally. I felt like until the very end, I guess. I don't know. I just wasn't super into it across the board. It's still a good film, but not when we're talking about like the best of the year. No Other
Yeah.
Choice on a scope, on a level of scope and production, and just like a technical achievement. I think No Other Choice is like on another level in comparison to that
Yeah.
film. I don't know. I just think that's goofy. That was a really bizarre. But in for writing though, I mean, like the film barely. I don't know. It's a strange. People are really big on it, and it does leave a good impression with that final. There's a great final sequence in it. But I don't know. That's a weird. We're talking about like the best stuff. I don't know that I
Yeah.
would put it
Yeah.
in any of those categories. Um, yeah, I don't know. And there's really nothing else worth like nitpicking over. I think overall, I think they got it mostly right.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of, I think people are tired of hearing about one battle after another and some of the other bigger picks. I think is part of the whole discourse here, where like everybody's like watching these nominees, hoping that they're like sleeper pick, like weapons or something.
Yeah.
It's not,
Correct.
and
Like
like
weapons or
okay, but
something.
like weapons is
Speaking of which, what happened with
it's
that?
not gonna get nominated for best picture. We all know that that would
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
happen. It's like I love weapons. The fact that it even got
I
a
do too.
nomination is crazy to me. And I think that's a
Which one he
bizarre.
got? I'm
It
looking.
got best supporting actress, I think,
Supporting actress.
and
Okay, that
she's
makes sense.
great. But
She is.
give it to the girl from Ozark. What's her name? Julia
Ju
Garner.
Garner. Yeah.
Like, give it to her. Well, I don't know, man. That's a bizarre choice, but
Well, Tiana Taylor's going to win that one most likely. But
yeah, I
yeah, let's see.
agree. That's the other
Yeah.
part. That's the other part of all this stuff is it's like the ones that shouldn't be there aren't going to probably win anyways. It's
Win.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I do think the supporting actress is a stacked category because
Yeah.
I
It
think Elle
is.
Fanning is really strong in sentimental value, and I think the sister Inga is also really good. But
Yeah, it's weird
Tiana
that they put
Taylor
them
is
up
still,
against each other. Yeah, every time they do that, that's you already know that's not going to happen. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
yeah,
And then in actress though, I think it's got to be Jessie Buckley, but
yeah.
Renate Rinsve might get it for sentimental value, but I think Emma Stone could. I mean, this is a really stacked
Emma
category too.
Stone. Yeah, Emma Stone was amazing. I love her.
Rose
Yeah,
Byrne apparently is fantastic, and if I had
I
legs,
have
I'd
to.
pick
That's
her.
what I was going to see this weekend, and
Yeah.
then our house we lost power on Sunday, and this house was like a friggin' icebox. We had no
Oh
heat.
man, for the
We had to
freeze. Oh,
split.
this was the second,
Yeah,
like
this
for
was on
this
this
past
Sunday.
weekend.
Yeah,
Oh
I
man,
was gonna
Houston.
just stay home and watch a bunch of Plex, and then it was like we couldn't even stay home. There was no power, and we were like under the covers, and we were still freezing. We just had a split, so we
Yeah,
drove
it's
around in the car, with the heat on
that's
and getting
miserable.
our phones charged. It was crazy.
Yeah, I'm done with all this
Oh,
30-degree weather here in Houston.
yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, anyway, I mean, ultimately, there's a lot of buzz about Sinners getting the most nominations, which I don't think
Yeah,
matters.
yeah,
The number of
14, man.
nominations, it's,
Yeah,
the only reason it got that many is because it got nominated for Best Song. And that's a
song.
rare
Yeah,
thing. A
I
lot of
saw that.
Best Picture films don't have that
Yeah,
category. And so, it's like, this doesn't matter. Like, the number of nominations is a stupid thing to, like, because, I mean, Sinners is a very technically proficient film. It's very great looking and it's performed well. I mean, it's like, it's
yeah, yeah.
deserved of the nominations it got.
Hmm.
But when we're talking about, like, oh, it's the favorite now because it got two more nominations than
I
one
don't
battle
think
after
it.
another. It's like I don't think that matters.
Yeah, I don't think it's. Yeah, I mean, I love Sinners, but I don't think it's going to win Best Picture or anything like that. I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I still think it's probably one battle after another. But
Yeah, yeah, me too.
and we'll see. I mean, there's a couple that could slip in there though for sure. But anyway, moving on from the stupid Oscars, done talking about them. What movies did you see this week?
um, so that's the thing. I mean, I think it was last weekend is where I binged a lot, And I mean, if this were going to be the movies that we've seen, not the ones to the picks. Um,
Is there anything like worth talking about, even if it's briefly? Just want to touch on anything
well,
you
yeah, I
saw that
mean, I
was.
guess then, but with all the negative attention it received for 28 years later, um, I watched it with low, expectations, and was blown away at how well
People
how
received it
good it was.
negatively?
Yeah, like it
Really?
didn't like it. Jeremy lasted in theaters for like what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks max,
I think
and like
it.
I said,
Yeah, I mean, I think it came out in January though. It's kind of like this
no,
one. It's like, what didn't it come out like in
no,
a
no. It
random
came
part of
out
the year?
in if not April, May. It came out during
Oh,
the blockbusters. And I remember when we went to go see it, like Rhonda was still interested, and when we went in June, it was gone.
hmm.
And of course, I had people tell me like Gloriana was like, "Oh, I walked out," and I was like, "How are you gonna walk out of a movie?"
What?
Yeah, she said that it was
I don't remember.
boring.
I mean, I thought the discourse was like, I mean, critically, I thought it was pretty well received. Let me look
Oh
here.
yeah, I mean, well, I'm talking about like yes. I mean, I the reviews that I read were okay. They weren't great. They were okay. They liked certain things, but I mean, like people talking
Yeah, I
about
guess
it, like
audience
we
score
talk
is pretty
about people,
low.
audience score was really low, and like I said, when we saw it, I was like, holy shit, how did
Well,
nobody, you know?
yeah.
And like you said, you saw Bone Temple, and I really want to see that now because of 20 years later, I would definitely want to see Bone Temple, but.
I
That
didn't
was
even know
like
that that was. I mean, I guess the critics gave it an 83. It's not a score, but the percentage obviously, and then the audience was 60%, which is mostly primarily negative. If we're
Well,
kind of
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
so I mean, obviously that doesn't gauge the strength of the review. I wasn't huge on. I think 28 years later, Bone Temple is a much better film. I think it's the best in the
okay. Well,
franchise.
that's good to know.
And
Okay,
I
yeah,
think 28 years later, though, like in hindsight and seeing Bone Temple and seeing kind of what 28 years later set up, I think it was more of a transition film than like an individual. It feels like it's almost like a Two Towers. Now, don't want to compare it to the best trilogy of all time, but ultimately, it feels like a bridge film from the old style of the original series, and
yeah,
then this new direction that they're headed in, just tonally and even aesthetically. There's a lot of mixture of like video footage from like, which is like, because the first film is one of the ugliest things. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it recently, but it's like,
no, we
this
binged the whole
early
series that
2000s.
weekend. Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah. No, I agree.
low
Yeah,
budget,
yeah,
indie
yeah,
film from 2003 or whatever. And so, ultimately, like I think 28 years later, just stylistically was bridging the gap. And I think I was more interested when I saw that with the ending that it has in what was coming
yeah.
next than excited to
Hmm.
go back and experience that film again. Even though I do think there's some great sequences in it. I think the Samson chasing them through the bridge
Yes,
is like a really
the
fun
bridge. Yeah,
sequence, a very exciting sequence. And I think there's some really stunning occasional photography in it. I think Bone Temple,
yeah.
though, again, like we're talking about, like just aesthetically, I think Bone Temple is this more modern, gorgeous film. I mean, I really think it's like it's easily the best looking of the franchise. And I think it builds upon a lot of the
Interesting.
characters from the first one as well, and a lot of the dicks, from the dongs from the first film. When I say first film, I'm talking about 28 years later. And then Jack O'Connell's
Yeah,
great, just
not
great
28
in
days.
in Bone Temple. So I don't want to get into spoilers because I know you haven't seen it, but
Mhm.
it is. I
No,
think
no,
it's the
no. Yeah,
best
yeah.
looking of the franchise. I think Ray Fiennes is just extraordinary in it. This
Good,
installment
good.
kind of captures like his isolation in a really interesting way and kind of desire for connection. And that's just I feel like that's portrayed in a way that's original. And kind of that relationship with him and Samson is really great in Bone Temple.
Hmm.
And there's also just a concept of in the film, and I won't spoil what it is, but it's involving a train that I think is really well executed. Just the presentation of that idea and the use of editing to kind of set that up is really good. I also think this is the most disturbing of the bunch in
Interesting.
the
Okay.
series. I mean, I think there's from the get go, there's a scene that I think is just hard to watch, and there's another one later on that I think is genuinely disturbing.
Mm.
These aren't like incredibly violent concepts or sequences. One of
Yeah.
them is definitely more so, but in terms of visual, it's not incredibly graphic. But the idea is just horrible. It's just horrible. And there's a few
Interesting. Yeah.
sequences in it that are really, really rough, and I think might push the limits of what audiences are willing to sit through.
Mm.
Honestly, even though it's not like visual.
Nothing. nothing compared to like Bring Her Back or stuff like that. You're talking.
No, not at that level,
Okay,
but I think
okay,
just
okay.
I mean, and obviously this is that's set in a normal
Yeah,
environment, even though there's a
yeah,
not psychological or not that's
yeah.
there's an element to that that is not set in real life. I think this is
In real life, yeah.
obviously it's a post-apocalyptic film with disturbing themes and just general
Theme,
like
yeah,
threat of
yeah. Okay,
violence at all in all areas.
yeah,
I think this is these sequences though one of them in particular is just like really it's rough, but it's also given the context of the type of film, I think it's a little more expected. I don't think people come into a movie like this expecting to not see things that aren't disturbing. So I don't know, but I do think it's like there's some genuinely horrible violence in it.
all right. Yeah, because
That
I'm
was
going
that
to
was
see it
surprising.
Saturday. So yeah, definitely. We'll
And I
talk
think,
about it
I
next
mean,
time. Yeah,
from the get go, you'll know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
There's a and I think it establishes like the violence feels tangible, and I think it provides like a sense of just constant danger, and I think it puts you on edge from the get go. So I think it sets up really strongly. I think it loses its way a little in like the second act,
yeah,
just in
yeah.
terms of pacing. But I do think. And the ending for me is a little bit too tidy for my taste, but I think it climaxes with the scene that's just wonderful. So I mean,
Okay, okay,
I think it's easily the best in the franchise for me, and
okay.
I think it
That's good.
retains its its kind of original, bizarre sense of tone and brutality, and despite being kind of surface level for some of the thematic elements. But Ray Fiennes is a standout. He's just extraordinary in this, and
Okay, good.
really strong direction. I'm looking forward to what's next. So
Okay,
yeah.
good. That's good to know.
That's 28 years, The Bone Temple or
The
Bone
Bone
Temple or
Temple.
whatever it's called.
Bone Temple.
All right, so sentimental value.
Sentimental
Before
value.
we get into our thoughts on it, we can go through just
Hmm.
a quick little because we're going to get into spoilers in just a bit. So I wanted to kind of
Yeah.
talk about what it's about for those that haven't seen it. Obviously, we talked about it when it was Best Picture, Best Director, I think, for Joaquin Trier, and a bunch of acting
I have a
nominations.
question before we go on because for all the googling I do sometimes during a movie, is that Lars von Trier's kid?
Oh, I've never even looked it up. I
Interesting. Yeah.
don't know,
Okay.
but why don't
Okay.
you go look it up and while
Yeah,
I
I was
do
gonna
the
say I'm gonna
synopsis.
look that shit up.
So basically, Sentimental Value is a movie about a family that is torn apart by divorce and later death, or brought back together by death, I
My
suppose.
dad.
The
Yeah.
it's Nora and Agnes are kind of the sisters of the family who are reunited with their kind of estranged director father, played by Stellan Skarsgård, after their mother's death. He's working on a new movie that he wants Nora to star in. And
Sorry.
Nora's played by Renate Rensve, who was in the previous film from director Joachim Trier's The Worst Person in the World, which I think is just an astounding film. And anyway, that's kind of the general. He
Huh.
comes home after the mom's funeral. He's got a project that he's working on. He wants one of the sisters to be in it, and they are all kind of dealing with their feelings and relationships with one another post divorce, and just him being gone for most of their lives. So
Lives, yeah.
he's trying to kind of reconnect with them clearly, and it's a movie. It's a good family drama where white people are sad. So if that's what you're into, I think it's a great one for you.
He said
Um,
it.
I like it a lot, but I
I
do
do
think
too. I
you
do too.
should check out Joachim Trier's The Worst Person in the World. I think it's just a more accessible, fun film in comparison to this one. And I do think this is definitely more quiet, meditative exploration of just trauma and
Yeah.
darkness, and it's not exactly a fun watch. Um, both because of its subject
Agree.
matter and presentation, which again, not for everyone, but I do think there's a lot to chew on at least. So that's why I thought it was a good pick for our discussion today. But I guess I would say it's if you're a fan of the artier stuff, this is definitely worth checking out. I think the perform on a technical level, I think it's a marvel, and I think performances are all just phenomenal across the board. So I would recommend it. I don't know how you feel about it though. It sounds like you were bored by it.
No, no, not,
Before we get into spoilers though,
not
this
at
is just
all.
more just the
Yeah.
recommendation, or whether or not you think it's
Yeah.
successful
Yeah.
in a
No.
broader sense without spoilers. So
So yeah, I was I didn't want to text you in the past 2 weeks because I didn't want to make you think like that. First of all, just get out of the way. He's a distant relative of Lars von Trier
Oh,
on his
okay. So he
father's
is
side,
actually
but
related.
he's not like,
Huh.
yeah, it doesn't say nephew, it just says distant relative.
Well,
So
they all
that's
come from
out
the
of the
same
way.
family tree over there, right?
Yeah, so I guess.
All those
So I
Europeans.
will I'll preface this. In film school, my professor, Professor Hirsch, he loved Ingmar Bergman, and I'll be honest, he grew on me. Ingmar Bergman, also Hirsch grew on me too. And I'm glad I watched Ingmar Bergman because if I never watched a Bergman film, I probably would have been upset that you even recommend this fucking movie to me. And it's funny because I always
I
like
didn't recommend it. I just said that we should watch it and
no,
talk
no, no,
about
no,
it.
no. I understand. I mean, in that aspect, and it's like it's funny because I like watching movies with Rhonda
Mhm.
because Rhonda is that other person who's not into film like us.
Sure.
She likes movies, but she's not into film.
Mhm.
And by the end of this movie, because he always starts, oh, I can't with Jeremy's recommendations or whatever. But by the end, like with Eddington, by the end she dug it, you know.
Sure.
And this is a movie that is very slow. I mean,
Yeah,
you have to be into a lot, and I think, like you said, the shared family trauma is what kept her there.
that
You
makes
know,
sense.
like everyone in the world, we all have family trauma. Um, but I did enjoy it, and there were times where I was like, you know, kind of like, ugh. But I mean, the performances are amazing. You know, where it just keeps you hanging like on every thread, every word. The sisters' relationship is another like real because like with my sisters, you know, I mean, I don't know if we're getting to the spoiler part of the film, but
Well,
I
maybe
didn't.
maybe we'll kind of pause it there. I mean, it sounds like
Okay,
there's a
hold on.
lot that you admired about it, but
Yeah,
for those that this is definitely on the artier side and not for everyone. I
definitely,
think,
definitely an
yeah,
art house film. Definitely, this is a film that I'm pretty sure, just like in, because I'm pretty sure this movie played in AMC's or we should I say Cinemark. Cinemark's not an AMC.
Mhm.
AMC is more like the Angelica or the Film Forum in Manhattan. So this is where I would see this in New York. But
Sure.
yes, I would say that this film, and I don't want to say pretentious. I'll only say that because it's something I'm used to saying, a very pretentious art house film.
Mhm.
But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it, and like I said, I think the relationships kept me going because, like I said, I connected with a lot of the relationships in the film, you
Sure.
know, and I think that if people go to see it, like if, I don't know when it's going to go on streaming,
I don't know.
and yeah, and I'm
Still in
saying, you
theaters
know,
currently, but
yeah, oh, is it? Yeah,
well,
I
maybe for
thought
the Oscar re-release though. I'm not sure, but
probably, but I'm saying that if people do give it a chance, I think they would enjoy it because of the fact that there is a lot to make you feel for it, or say, oh shit, that's like me, or that's like me, my dad, or
sure.
me. So, and that's what I about it, but I guess when we get into spoilers, it's like
I
it's
guess
like
we'll mark that here. Let's just say, like, for this point on, if you haven't seen Sentimental Value and you care about spoilers, I would go check it out if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in. And if it doesn't, it probably won't win you over. But I do think The Worst Person in
yeah,
the World is a really good
excuse me,
intro
yeah,
to Joachim Trier's stuff. That's not as arty, but it's still. I think it's a little bit more accessible, and I think
oh,
it
okay,
is more fun in my opinion than this one. So I really love The Worst Person in the World. I think that's it's up there. Like for me, it's like in that Francis Ha category of like indie drama
interesting,
that
yeah, yeah.
but it has some style to it
Do you
and
do you like that film more than this film?
I think this one I think if I'm gonna rewatch something, it's probably gonna be The Worst Person in the World. I don't think this is like the type of
Okay.
film. I mean, this is a brooding, just devastating depiction of depression and
I agree.
anxiety and the
I agree.
feeling of loss. And I mean it's just like this is
Yeah.
there's a lot going on here, and that's what I admire about it, but it's also just not a
Yeah.
fun it's not something I'm going to revisit a lot. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
um you know
It's like one of those movies that you watch, and if you're into it, you're going to enjoy it and say, "Oh,
sure.
that was a great film." But yeah, it's not like, "Oh, I'm going to watch that movie in a couple of weeks."
Yeah,
Never.
it's a
I mean,
hard recommend too for that same
have
for all those
you?
reasons.
Because I know you do that, and I enjoy that about you. I used to do that when I was younger too. Like, oh, you got to see this film and watch it again. Is
Sure.
this a movie
Yeah.
you would see more than once with other people to recommend it or no?
Like I don't how who could I recommend this to some degree? There's
Have
I mean
you?
I think like I mean my friend Cody is somebody that well, he's actually been on the show. We did an episode
Yeah.
together about 1917. Like Cody's somebody who has the level of knowledge and appreciation that he isn't going to shy away from something because it's quiet and introspective, right? Like,
Mhm.
but Marissa, for instance, I showed her this, unsure if she'd like it or not, and she connected with a lot of the material, and I think that's like my selling point for the movie is I think it hits on themes that anyone can relate to,
You're
re-
correct. Yeah.
regardless of whether or not you've been, you're a daughter of,
Yeah.
a father that's estranged or have kids yourself. I think those are just kind of the surface level components of it, but
Yeah.
I think the feeling of loss and we can get into kind of the specifics of that, but
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to relate to in terms of that material. I mean, there's a really interesting kind of motif of light and darkness in this film that's
Yes.
portrayed in a
Yeah.
lot of interesting ways, in my opinion. I've seen this twice now, and I think technically almost three times actually. I watched it. I started it and watched about halfway, and then decided to show Marissa, and then I watched it again all the way. So
Oh,
I've
from
seen
the
it
beginning. Yeah. Yeah.
basically three times now.
But
And
not in theaters, correct?
I saw it once in theaters, and I
Okay.
was
Okay.
a little distracted that day, so I wanted to give it a revisit. And I'm
Yeah.
glad
Yeah.
I did because I mean, I do think like seeing where this is the kind of movie that I think you can appreciate a second time through, and I think I don't know that you have to see it a second time to appreciate it. I
Correct.
don't
Agreed.
love that idea that a movie should have to be seen again to be able to be understood. I don't think. I mean, I think it's on the surface you understand what it's at least trying to say emotionally. Um,
Of
but
course.
obviously,
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
nuances of that I think are more detailed and there's a lot to chew on. Obviously, like we said, but I mean, ultimately, so
Oh
getting
yeah.
into
Yeah. Yeah.
um whether or not people will like it, I don't know. So this is a hard one. This is probably on the outlier of things that people
Yeah. Yeah.
want to watch, and that's fine. If you don't want to
Yeah. Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
if you don't watch movies to feel something, this is probably not for you. And if you watch movies for like purely entertainment, this probably isn't for you. And
It's
I
not
think
for
that's
you.
fine. This is not.
Yeah.
But I also don't think this is like artsy fartsy. Like I don't believe that this is indulgent either though. That's the weird kind of balance for
Maybe
me, I
no.
think.
I agree. Not indulgent. But if you say artsy fartsy, I'd
Sure, it's a
say
little
I would
artsy
disagree with
fartsy,
you.
but
Yeah, there's a little bit
I
of
mean,
that. But it's
yeah,
not indulgent. I agree with that. It's not indulgent.
sure. I mean, I guess the artsy fartsy part of it would probably be the filmmaking component of it, which I think is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like when you watch a movie that's about a writer or read Stephen King, many books about writers.
Yeah.
There's a feeling of like this was written for me and by me.
I mean,
But I think the filmmaking concept in the film and the idea that it's the idea there's a concept in the industry that filmmakers go and they spend extreme amounts of time with people in a very short amount of time, and then you go your separate ways and you don't see them again for a very long time. It's a very weird industry in that regards. There's a lot of industry. Anything project driven can be like that. Like if you're working on building a hospital or something
yeah.
over the course of 3 years or whatever, you work very intimately with people and then you leave and you might never see them again. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the filmmaking component of the film parallels the relationship with Gustav and Nora specifically, but also the sister.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think he's working on a film, and I think this is a move, very much a movie about a person who can't communicate their feelings, or
Yeah.
two people that can't communicate their feelings. I think Agnes is far more open to discussing the way she
Correct.
feels in her
Yeah. Yeah.
relationships and things, and than Nora is in this film. But ultimately, Gustav is trying to communicate with his daughter and essentially tell her that I see you. I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
I know how you feel, and
Hmm.
I am fearful that I have caused that same feeling, and I can see it in
Correct.
you.
Yeah. Hmm.
And by the end of the film, I think they come to that place of it. I mean, ultimately, it's two stubborn individuals.
Yeah. I mean that
Um,
since you that scene frustrated me so much because they come so close to each other at the end of that last scene, and there's no physical connection, but
Oh, but I
there's
don't think that needs to be there. I
no,
agree.
no, no. I
Yeah,
know, but I, like I said, I want to talk about my connection to it. But it's like that's what I was like. Oh, I was like, damn, they don't. I wanted them to because I wanted that. I
that's
wanted to
fair.
see that physical connection.
But
But
they're
yes,
not
of
physical
course.
connection people. You know, this is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
character
yeah,
that like saw that her father was there and they're in conflict, and so she runs out of the house. I mean, like physical contact is probably not the expectation. In these
but they come
circumstances.
so close, and I see that. Hopefully, I don't know how many more years he has left. I mean, spoilers and everything. It's given that he may go next
Sure.
year, whatever, right
I
after
think
the
that's a
film.
driving force for his
Yeah, yeah.
motivation for sure. Regardless, he didn't want to leave this world with this
Correct. Yes.
broken relationship with her the way that he never understood his mother's death, and I think that was
Yeah.
part of the reason he didn't want that for his daughter, and he obviously felt that his divorcing the mom, even if it was mutual and
Yeah.
just exiting their lives was exactly what his mother did, regardless of whether or not
Exactly.
that was
Yeah.
the reasons were there. I think the darkness that caused is something he sees in her as well, and I think that final sequence, though, I think is what makes this movie. I do think it's like the key piece that makes
Oh
this
yeah.
thing really work and
Yeah.
really stick with me, in my opinion, because the film that he's writing doesn't end in a happy note. It
Oh no.
ends in an
Yeah.
ambiguous note, but not a
Ambiguous.
happy
Yeah.
one, right? And I
Correct.
think it's
Yeah.
it's ultimately the story of his mother. And I
Mhm.
think that final sequence where we see her go into the room and we see the final shot of the movie, which we know is a darker,
Yeah.
it was what had been, right? Ultimately cutting to the shot of Renat or of Nora behind the door and
Oh
seeing
yeah.
her move on and live her life
Yeah.
is the next chapter. It's the moving
Correct.
on.
Yeah.
And I think there's an exchange, a glance, which I have written on down on my list to talk about. This glance at the end, which is I think essentially them saying like I see you,
Yeah. Exactly.
and
That's what I mean. Yeah.
I'm he,
It's yeah.
so I think that concept is really interesting. I think
Oh
and
yeah.
that's
Of
something that
course.
I
Yeah.
think elevates this beyond just kind of a generic sad movie for white people. But
He
you know,
said.
and I think that's something that really sticks with me. Even I think these I think the narrative that maybe takes its time setting things up and establishing the dynamics and everything. I mean, it's not it's definitely not trying to be
Yeah.
concerned with your entertainment. I don't think. Because it's not your traditional film about this kind of thing either. Like
Correct.
a
Yeah. No. No.
movie
Agreed.
a
Agreed. Yeah.
movie I would compare it to that I think is also great is The Humans, which is based on a Tony Award-winning
The
play.
play. Yeah.
And it's like a family coming back for Thanksgiving dinner. I got a great star-studded
Oh yeah.
cast, and it's
Great
very
cast.
much, very much about similar themes of like,
Yeah.
just anxiety and like dread and, and communication and all these things, and that's like a 90-minute, tight little experience, and I think it's a
Yeah.
really extraordinary one.
Yeah.
That still has some more traditional narrative tropes,
Yeah.
even though the presentation of that film is still unique. This is definitely like I've never seen anything like it to some degree,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
in its. I love going back to just some of the characters in the film that I wanted to kind of break down. One of them being the house, which I think is from the opening scene is like
Nice a
it
character.
plays a
Yeah.
role in the film, which is an annoying thing to say, but I do think in this film it is a character in the film though. I mean
It
the
is.
opening
Yeah.
sequence. We hear the narrator talking about how Nora, when she was a kid, writes about the house from the house's
From the
perspective and
perspective. Yeah.
ponders whether or not it feels pain or likes being alone. She writes that the house dislikes the noise but also the silence. There's these
Yeah.
statements clearly parallel her feelings of her parents'
Correct.
relationship,
Yeah. Yeah.
falling apart and like hating that, but then also hating the silence that's left after she leaves and she also misses him.
Yeah.
And these are just really elaborate themes established right off the get-go. And I think there's this idea that the family's time there was just a split second and the house existed before and after their
Before.
time, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's
I
almost
like
this
that.
like ghost-like presence. it's a haunting kind of presence in the film, and you also have the darkness of the family's past and the numerous family members that died there, and you know the relationships that have died there,
Died there. Yeah.
and the way those parallel. I mean, there's just a really unique. I mean, I think I wrote these down because it was three. Is Nora's great great grandfather died there.
Yeah.
Gustav's marriage and mother died there, and then Nora's mother also died there, right? So
Died there.
you
Yeah.
had three people die in like multiple marriages and relationships, and there's this idea that the house is like sinking and relaxing, and there's cracks running through it,
Cracks
and the
running through
the
it. Yeah.
title card is like on top of the crack in the
Crack.
house, and you
Yeah.
see like this, like there's just like all these really unique ways that all tie into the way these characters are dealing with all this tragedy, and it's that's interesting to me,
Yeah, no, of course.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like one of the most amazing characters, the house itself, and
There's
what
this
it has.
great scene early in the film too. It's almost a montage, but shot all in like one sequence, and it's like a one shot, but it's
Yeah.
showing the time changing, like when
Passing.
Nora was a little girl, and then and it's like moving through these different periods in time, all in one single take, and it just
Great.
seamlessly blending them all together. It's like this brilliant sequence. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think what else. We've kind of touched on a lot of stuff in kind of
I know, right?
a bird's eye view, but let's see here. I also like the idea that the house has secrets. Like there's secret
Yeah.
passages that you can like
Passages.
listen
Yeah.
in on other people, and
I like that.
uh,
Yeah.
and meanwhile all the characters have secrets as well. Every person that's in this film, every character in the film, not just our main family here, but
Yeah.
their parents and um, their the mother was doing therapy sessions in there in the house, and like all
Yeah.
her patients have secrets, and
Secrets. Yeah.
there's just this that motif is really interesting to me. I don't know all the details, I don't have all the details hammered out, but these are all things that I thought were worth noting as I
Oh
was
yeah.
watching it through the second time. Yeah, it also is a kind of an interesting exploration of artistry in general and modern art.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
there's talks of like this film being released on Netflix, and he's like, "Oh, is it not going in the theaters?" And
I
Gustav is,
couldn't.
like clearly like an old school filmmaker and is an
Yeah.
appreciator of the art form, and has a lot of disrespect for the theater, which I think is a
Yeah.
big part of
Which
the tension with him and Nora.
Noria.
Um, but also just is just very cynical about like actors, and
Yeah.
just I don't know. He's just very set in his ways and his
Ways. Yeah.
beliefs about how things should be, and despite all these things, he's a really surprisingly thoughtful and patient director, though, and I do like
Yeah.
that you can
Right.
see him doing his craft, and he's clearly really good at it and very good
Yeah.
at communicating with Elle Fanning, who I think is very good in this film.
She is. I dug her in it.
I think when she first got nominated, I was like, why Elle Fanning of all people? But then watching through it again with that in context, I think
Yeah.
because she's doing performance in the film,
Yeah.
sometimes I forget that, like,
That,
it's like I disconnect from the performance of the actual
yes.
actor in the
Correct.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, but she really balances this, this character that just feels caught up in this family drama in a
Family
way that's
drama.
really genuine, though. Like it doesn't feel
Yeah.
like I don't know. I think she does a great job, but I don't
She
have a
is.
lot
She's
to
good.
say about that character. I think that character is not that like remarkable in
Yeah.
comparison to the other three. Um, but she is very good in it.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else here. Uh,
I mean, I think her character solidifies the whole notion that this film should not be done by her. It should be
yeah,
done by Nora, and I
that's
think
fair.
that's good because it puts its seed throughout the film with that. And it's like at time I when I said at one point I was like, oh my god, I said, are you gonna do the film or not? But
Yeah,
I'm glad she does it because especially the scene where she talks to Nora herself, I thought
sure.
that's just a great scene
It is.
because it foreshadows later that this movie is Nora's, and even after Nora tells Elle's character, which I forget her name,
Oh,
but
it's
she,
Rachel Kemp.
Rachel, and Nora tells Rachel, "Oh no, yeah, I'm cool with it," and it seemed like she talked her back into it. We know that she knows the film is Nora's film, and
Sure.
I dig that about her character. But again, not it's like a little thing that drives through the film that just lets
I
us know
think
that
like
even
that's an interesting point to talk about like I think that like general plot structure, I think is where
Yeah.
the movie has lost a lot of people. Is they're
Hmm.
sitting here going, obviously she's gonna do the film. We're setting all this stuff up, and it's like, yes, the movie is broadly those are the
Yeah,
events of
yeah.
the film, but the film's about much more than that, and
Yeah,
these characters.
of course,
I think
yeah.
the journey to get to those points is far
Exactly.
more
Yeah.
nuanced than
Yeah.
just, she's too stubborn to read the script and
Read
then she
script.
reads the script and joins the film. Like that's
And then
not an
yeah,
interesting film. But when you talk about, again, like her reasons for rejecting the script, she's rejecting him as a father. She says that to
father, yeah.
Agnes at one point. She's like,
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't think he's going to come in here and just become my dad,
Yeah.
after all these years. And then him just kind of being disrespectful of like, this is a real
Yeah.
role. It's a real performance.
Exactly.
And even if he's being somewhat genuine, there is a disrespectful side of it, which is
Exactly. Like he was like, "Oh, you can get a break from the series," and she's like, "I haven't done a TV series in so long."
yeah, he's
It's-
completely out of touch with
yeah.
what she's even currently working on. He
Exactly.
doesn't support her in her
Yeah.
roles or believe that there's any value in it.
Exactly. Which is
All
yeah.
these things are there, and so why would she want to work with somebody
We're
like that? Somebody
exactly. Yeah.
but again, the flip side of it is that he's using this opportunity to communicate with her on a deeper level, and she just is rejecting that, which is
Yeah.
fair, and
Yeah.
I
No.
think
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
and some of it too is just like she's got to deal with this issue that she has. This like she's been stuck since he left,
Left.
basically.
Yeah. Just a teenager. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a this idea that she tried to commit suicide at some
Suicide.
point, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we know there's a darkness there to
Hmm.
her and to Gustav, and I also think there's an interesting visual motif of Rachel Kemp's character is always wearing white, and Nora is always wearing black in every scene,
Yes.
and
Yes.
from the get go, and then by the end of the film, I think she ends up. I forget what she's wearing throughout the film, but the
It's a
scene
light.
where
It's
they
like a
meet up,
light
though,
shirt.
the
Yeah.
scene where they meet up in the theater, though, you see that like side by side, which
Yeah.
is just interesting. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like you have this. It toys with that visual concept a lot. Um, but again, that represents this darkness to her that I think
Yeah.
you also see
Yeah.
in Gustav. I think there's this one of the best shots in the whole film is Rachel Kemp comes to the house to tell him that she's leaving the role, and
Leave it
Gustav
all,
is
yeah.
just sitting in darkness on the patio. It's like such a cool
Yeah.
visual. I think he like lights a cigarette. It's the only thing you can see in
Yes.
frame.
That's
It's
what
like
I say. Yeah.
really
The
really
cigarette.
cool. And again, I mean, it's cool, but it's also a visual representation of just this darkness that surrounds him. And there's this phenomenal shot after that sequence where he's like drinking himself to death, basically, and
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Right.
he like peers into the room where his mom killed herself, and there's like this blackness in that space, and
It's
he
a great
just
shot.
stares into it, and then we cut to him outside. He like can't physically be in the house anymore because it's suffocating. Sorry, you're dying over there. Do you need to get some water?
No, I was saying that bringing that scene up, it was kind of like almost horror filmish.
Sure.
Like I
Yeah.
thought his mother was going to come out of the room. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I liked about when you just brought that up. And it's like then he had to leave, and it's like he couldn't stand being there. And for all the references that he tells Rachel, "Oh, this is not about my mom. This is not about
Sure.
my mom,"
And it isn't, though.
and it isn't.
It really
But
isn't.
it
But it
is.
is. It's
But it is.
and Agnes says
Yeah.
that at the end. He's like, I think this
Yeah.
is about you. There's a lot of his mother tied up in it, but
Yeah.
inevitably, it's like it's about wanting something better for you to some
Correct.
degree.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, I think it's just an interesting way to portray those concepts. And then you have this house, this character, the role that this house plays in all their lives, and that them all dealing with it by confronting the space and the meaning that has. I mean,
Yes, yeah.
that's where I think this is like just really really fascinating to me, just as a character portrait. But yeah, the way it ties all those ideas together in a way that is, I don't know, it's just there's something really compelling there. And talking about his mother and just all the whole family line and all the
Yeah.
darkness involved in that, and I don't know, it's I'm trying to think if there's anything else worth talking about with at least the Nora and Gustav relationship. I think there's multiple characters throughout it that tell her she should go to therapy. And
Gareth
she's like, she's like, no, I don't need it. It's
I don't need.
fine.
Yeah. I
Because
was
she
like,
comes from a
what?
household. Her mom was a
Where her
therapist.
mother was. Yeah, exactly.
His
Correct.
mother was her grandmother was a therapist.
Yeah.
She listened in on these people that probably had far more severe mental illness than she did. Not that she doesn't have it,
Yeah.
clearly.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that it's fair to dismiss that as something that you need and refuse to get help. And I think that's part of that journey too, is like, where,
Yeah.
being willing to be vulnerable, which I think is one of the main themes of this, is just vulnerability and emotional connection, and being willing to open yourself up to potentially being hurt. And
Hurt. Yeah.
um, I don't know. I think all that stuff is kind of wrapped up in this thing. And she struggles with intimacy with boyfriends and stuff.
Boyfriends.
And
Yeah.
she there's a line where she's talking about how acting is like, I get to like become somebody else. And Agnes says, like, to avoid being yourself. And
Self. Yeah.
I think she avoids emotional connections with her sister as well, and her
Yeah.
father. And and I think the movie certainly doesn't it's not like, I think it's sympathetic to all these ideas. I don't think it's
Yeah.
portraying these
Definitely.
ways, and in ways that are looking down on any of them.
Down
I
on.
think
Yeah.
they're all flawed, but in a way that's realistic and justifiable. But I do think that contributes to that overarching storyline, or at
Yes.
least the plot of the film being somewhat predictable. Because that's what Marissa had said, which is it's a fair feeling of going
Mm.
like, oh, get on with it already. And you're like, yeah, but and so I mean, it is what it is. But I also look back on it after seeing it a second time, and seeing kind of where we're going from start to finish. And I don't think there's a scene I would take out of it either.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Agreed.
there's
Agreed
this
with that.
idea. There's this idea throughout as well of like trying to seek deeper meaning through prayer, and being like just devastated and pondering, that concept
Yeah.
as well. And it's written into the play. And there's a scene where Elle Fanning reads the script where she's like on her hands and knees praying to to a god or something. It's
Yeah.
like, I never prayed before. I forget all the lines in it, but there's this idea that where is it? Yeah, it says, I wish her mother was like, I think Elle Fanning finishes the scene and says, I wish her mother was like this in the film. She's
Mm.
like reaching out and pleading for her mother's embrace.
Brace. Yeah.
And it's like Gustav wrote that in the script, and it's really about him, not her, not his mother.
Correct. Yeah. His mom.
Um,
Yeah.
and then the next scene, Elle Fanning questions him, and he's about his mother, and he says, "Oh, it's not about her." And
Yeah.
clearly she sees that this script is more personal to him than even he's willing to admit.
That he's willing to.
Um,
Yeah. Correct. That
and
he's.
Gustav's producer, I think there's a pivotal scene later in the film too, where the producer tells Gustav, like, you've touched on this theme before, but you've never confronted it so personally. It took all
Yeah.
these years to get here. And I think those are all big moments, I think, in a very quiet film.
Film. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's a lot. I think all those ideas are whether or not the specifics of them are relatable. I think all of them can be somewhat related to every person on the planet. So
Yeah.
you know,
It's funny because it's like, again, I like the film a lot. I connected more with Agnes, and I
yeah,
think that was the interesting for me because
that's fair.
like my father was, a very traditional, old fashioned guy, and with my sisters, I see Nora being both my sisters because
Mm,
women were not allowed to do this, not allowed to do that. So it's like it was weird because like Agnes is like kind of cool with her dad, but not. And I think I grew up that way. Like I was cool with my dad, but I also knew he was unfair to my sisters.
sure.
So it was like funny that scene where Agnes, finally, they talk about the script, and I
Yeah.
and I was like, I thought that was like the scene for me that I loved because I was like, oh my god, this reminds me of me and Annette
Yeah.
and Charlene with my father, and so yeah,
Well, I think an interesting point you made there, the two, is the difference in the relationship between the two daughters and
yes, correct,
Gustav,
yeah,
and the tension that causes between the two of them specifically.
yeah,
There's a really funny scene where they all come to the house, and he gifts the kid fucking the piano teacher and Irreversible, which is a
yeah.
really,
I was like,
it's just,
I had to tell
it's either him
Rhonda,
being completely out of touch, or it's just like a totally funny gag,
funny gag, like yeah, like my
which is
father would
kind of what it
have.
seems like. But yeah,
It's like
I love his relationship with the grandson too, and like there's this
yeah,
genuine
yeah,
connection. And but yeah, there's a scene, the scene following that though is where Agnes has to tell Nora, like, hey, like, don't speak for me. I don't feel the
Yeah,
same things
yeah.
that you do. Our
That you do,
relationship is
yeah,
complicated, but it's not
yeah.
like yours. She's the one that got in touch with him after their mother died, and so
Yeah,
clearly she's been in touch with him at least. And there's not like the same. But she was also there's that great scene later on where you understand why, where Agnes
yeah,
says to her like,
yeah,
"I always had you, Nora. Like I didn't
yeah.
need him the way that you needed
You
him."
needed him, yeah.
You were there for me to brush my hair, and these are
And I love that
really
scene. Yeah, that scene was
touching,
really
and
powerful. Yeah,
and again, and that helps inform Nora's understanding of the whole situation,
it's
and
true. Yeah.
inevitably allows her to move past this and do the thing that's best for both of them, and reconnect. So yeah,
Did just a stupid aside since we wrote up. Did you have to pause the film and tell Marissa about a reversible or no?
yeah, I was like, yeah, two
I did
films
too.
about sexual assault
Because she didn't get
given
it.
to
She
a
was like,
given to
she's
like
like,
a
I
6-year-old.
yeah. Because Brown was like, I don't get it, and I had to pause the film and say, "Oh, do you know what these movies are?" And I had to tell her what the both movies are about.
Yeah.
But it was funny.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen either of those all the way through. I have them both on Plex. I have them actually. I think I have both of them on because one's Michael Haneke, right? That's Piano
Yeah,
Teacher.
yeah, that's
I've seen
piano.
most of his stuff, but
Irreversible's a rough watch. I'll tell
yeah,
you that. Yeah,
yeah,
it's very rough.
that's what I've heard, and that's the guy who did Enter the Void, right?
Into the Void, yeah, and it goes in backwards like Memento. But I'll be honest, it was like I finally saw it. I think last year, and I was like, holy shit, it was a
Yeah.
rough movie, yeah. But yeah, check it out. I think you dig it, or maybe not. I don't know.
No,
But
I mean I have them on Plex. I do want to revisit those. I mean, Irreversibles. I mean, those are both really notable.
yeah, yeah,
Regardless of the material. But yeah,
yeah,
anyway, sentimental value. I think there's a lot
yeah.
to chew on there. There's a lot worth discussing, and I do think the film's better than it feels when you first watch it, and that's
Yes, agreed, agreed
'cause
with that.
I think not the failure of the film, but one of my only complaints is I think some of the broader themes are harder to engage with because of and it's not even the pace of the film, it's just I think you kind of have to get that last scene to really appreciate what came before it. And
Okay, I understand now.
um
I
I mean, you
didn't.
don't have to because there's plenty of it in there, but I think it's a movie that does
No, that
almost.
final scene does drive the whole film home.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
you said. It's like after that scene, it's like it makes you appreciate every. Yeah, I agree with you there because I think, like I said, even though I was frustrated, I do think that's a great ending. The way the film ended and fades to
sure.
black, the whole nine. I thought it was really, really good.
And it's an interesting portrait of filmmaking and the process in a way
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
really different from any other filmmaking type movie. So,
agreed.
I think if that's, I think it's worth seeing if you're an art house, fan,
Yeah,
or just a fan of films in general. But I do think it's not for everyone, and that's okay.
definitely.
Anyway, let's get to our picks of the week. You go first. What's your
Well,
pick?
like I said, I told you that the only film I saw was the 28 Years Later. And like I said, I kind of loved it. I'm glad I saw it because, like I said, there was a lot of negative connotation behind it in the
No,
reviews and
this is
such.
your pick, your recommendation of the week, not your
Well, that's what I'm
favorite
saying. I've
movie you
only,
saw this week.
yeah, yeah, no, I haven't. I only watched movies last weekend, which is all the
It
movies I
doesn't have to be
binged.
something you just watched. It
Oh,
could
so you
just
mean
be,
any movie?
yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
literally went through my library
so
and was like, this one.
oh, okay. All right. Well, before we do that, I will say this: I recommend you watch the last episode of SNL
Okay,
because both Stellan Skarsgård and Alexander Skarsgård are on it,
that's
and
fun.
they kind of poke fun at sentimental
Nice.
value.
I'm
So after
surprised
you
they didn't cast him as the younger version of
version of
Gustav.
himself, right?
It kind of
Yeah.
looks like maybe it's his brother, though. I don't. It looks like a real person, but he looks very similar to.
Oh yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think they CG'd his face, but I'm
No, no,
curious about
no.
how they did that. But yeah,
I was
that's a
telling
fun one.
Rhonda, I said maybe they took like they did older films of him when he was younger and
Maybe.
did that, spliced it in. But I do have to recommend you to watch that because I think you
Yeah.
would think how funny that was. The scene with they're doing a Swedish film. It's really
Nice.
funny.
That's fun.
Yeah. But if you want me to pick a movie, I recommend anyone to you to anyone. I recently saw a couple of weeks ago The Howling.
Okay.
Have you seen The Howling?
I actually have not. It's also on. I think I put added to my Plex.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but I have.
1981
I've never
horror
seen it.
film.
Yeah. I love
Yeah,
the poster. I've always loved
yeah,
that.
the poster's an amazing poster. And I recently watched it again, and it's such a great it's funny how it's a lot like Silence of the Lambs per se, the way it's built up with the serial killer and everything.
Hmm.
But the special effects, I mean, it's not American Werewolf in London,
Sure.
but it comes close. And and practical effects too, which are really good. And I would recommend you watching it. I thought it was really good. It's gory. It's sexual in a way, but the the whole mystery building up to the whole plot of the werewolves, which um, it's like watching it again. I was like, oh shit, I didn't realize that, it's not a straight up werewolf film until like the second half. And then when
Hmm.
the big reveal, and then you have a werewolf film. But it's this whole mystery about the serial killer that,
Interesting.
what's her name? Oh my God, Dee Wallace is investigating. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, definitely watch The Howling.
Nice, good pick. Mine is All of Us Strangers, which came out. I forgot to write down the year, but I think 2 years ago. I want to say I don't know if it was on my list, but it definitely should have been. I think I saw it after I made my list. I'm not sure. Smaller release. It did just get a Criterion set, which is just a great transfer, in my opinion. Gorgeous looking movie as well. But it's about a screenwriter, another movie about a writer, played by Andrew Scott, who's just
Yeah.
extraordinary in this thing. He is kind of writing a book about his childhood, and he kind of that brings up some past trauma of some things that had happened to him when he was younger, about 30 years prior. The way it presents that information is like him going home, physically going home to where he used to live, and I really like the way it portrays. It feels like you're watching him actually go to his home, and then you realize that's not exactly what's happening. And then his anyway, it's kind of also about this relationship he starts to have with his downstairs neighbor, which is Paul Mescal. Mescal, I
Mm,
don't know how to pronounce.
Pascal.
The two of them are just great in this. This is gay as hell.
Oh,
It's by the director of Weekend though, and Looking and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
45 Years, which I haven't seen with what's her name? I forget, but that looks great as well. Haven't seen that, but Weekend is a pretty notable
yeah.
gay movie.
Gay movie. Yeah.
This is also very gay, but hey,
Nothing really
it's a
wrong with
great
that.
portrait though of a person dealing with family trauma, which I think ties into
Yeah, I was
Sophie
gonna
Turner
say,
really well.
did you watch it because of that? But yeah, was it?
No, I actually I didn't watch that this week. This is just this is a movie that I
Joe, you're
really
recommending?
love, and
Okay,
I've
yeah.
seen it a couple times since it first came out. And it floored me whenever I saw it in theaters, just like on my own one night. And I think it's totally the kind we could definitely do a movie discussion about this one because it's
Okay,
extraordinary. I did add it to my Plex as well, so you
okay.
should
I was
watch
gonna say, if you had it, I'm gonna check it out. Yeah.
but yeah, it's really well acted and just a really sad movie. But very good, very very good. And
Okay.
it also has she was in Unsane. What's her name? The lead.
Oh, the one who's in the crown. Oh my God.
She's also
I
in
know.
Woman Talking, I think.
Yeah, yeah. What is her name?
Yeah, I'm
She's a
just
great actor. A great actress. Yeah. I like Woman's Talking. That was a good movie too.
uh sorry, I hate to do this in the middle of this, but
Claire Foy.
Claire Foy. Yeah, she's
Claire Foy.
great.
There we
She's
go.
great in
Came
this
back.
also in
Yeah.
All of Us Strangers. So that's my pick for the week. It's great.
I'm definitely
Anyway,
gonna watch it.
I'm glad we were able to do this.
Yeah.
Hopefully we didn't go too long. I think we're
No,
like
I
an
think we
hour,
did like an
over an hour,
hour.
but
Yeah. I'm looking at.
we had to skip a week, so we had to add some
Yeah,
extra.
so we can have that. Yeah, we can do it.
But yeah,
But
anyway, that's I guess that's that for Indecisive Cinema,
episode 47.
episode 47. Well, thanks for doing this, and thanks
Yeah, of
for
course.
listening if y'all are listening, and
Yeah.
we'll hopefully see y'all next week.
All right, guys. For now, I'm Carlos Hernandez. We never
Um,
introduce ourselves for the people who don't know
oh
us.
yeah, we did. I'm Jeremy Knight.
You guys have a great night. Take care. Bye.